This video is brought to you by Flower Magazine.
Hi there, I'm Sybil Sylvester. I have Wildflower Designs in Birmingham, Alabama, and it is my thrill to be teaching you today how to do a flower arrangement from the start to the finish. The first step for me is to figure out which container we're going to use for the arrangement, and this beautiful antique piece was perfect for what we're doing. Now, it wasn't so perfect for me because it doesn't hold water, it leaks. So I had to go and find things that would work inside of it that would hold the water, and that was a bit tricky. But I finally found, well, I got a couple of things. You know, I want to have something that I know for sure I've got something. So the first thing I found was these two. And it wouldn't be ideal because there's spaces in between, but I've got them. I purchased them. Then I went to Office Depot and I found this thing. After looking and looking, I told myself, you can't find it, give it up. And then I walked through one more time and found this. So whatever it is, and it works. I couldn't believe it. It goes in there perfectly, but it's awfully short and awfully small, so we'd be real restricted. And then I decided, well, I need to go to the grocery store and look. I could not believe it. I was exclaiming in the aisle at the grocery store, and this woman was looking at me, and I said, look, I had to find a liner, and it fits just perfectly. And she goes, this is a wonderful day. And I said, but, you know, people, I don't want you to give up. Anything is a container, and you can find something to put in here. If you even line it with heavy plastic and tape it in, that works as well. But my next step is to put this chicken wire in, and I know it's hard to see. What I do is cut a piece of chicken wire that's about twice as long as the container. And then I start so we've got right and left opposite corners. I roll them together. I learned this from a man who worked with Sheila McQueen in England. So we're learning and she worked with Constance Spry. So this is one of the old-timey techniques that works every time. So I've rolled them together and kind of pinch them to keep it there. And then you I was doing this yesterday without my glasses on, and here I am doing it that way again. And it kind of makes it work because you're not fiddling with it too much. One end is squashed together, and now I'm going to do the other one. So we make this piece of chicken wire that's just the size of the container. Ha ha. Let's see how I did. So then, see, if I was using the plastic, I would worry that these pieces would cut it and then it would leak. So that's why I'm so happy I found the proper liner. Now, you just press it, and in it goes, and maybe it's going to try to pop out, and so I'm going to show you what we're going to do to fix that. We're going to get my tape out of my toolbox, my tool bag, and oh gosh, the hardest part is finding the end of the tape. Isn't that always the way? I'm going to cut a couple of pieces of tape. I'm going to hook it now. A real tip. Well, first let's put these eyes on. The first tip that's very important is actually taping the tape, putting it through the chicken wire and taping it back to itself, because it sticks to itself better than it sticks to anything else. So you always want, if you're using the tape, you're using it because you need to secure something. So we always want to be sure it's not going to pop loose. So again, I'm going to slip through the chicken wire, find a spot. I'm going to tape the tape exactly back to itself and then come under. And I also have lined the container with foil, florist foil. So we are ready. It's bobbling a little bit. I'm going to see if I can tighten it up. Take it loose and pull it tighter. And you know, it used to be when I was doing this sort of thing and I couldn't get it right and had to go back and redo it like I just did, I would be embarrassed and feel nervous about it. But the truth is, what I figured out is you need to see me all not getting it right and then see how I solve that problem. So that's the way I figured that one out. So I figured out what to use as a liner. I figured out how to fix this inside. We're going to add water. Water is very important, and people tend to forget to water their flowers. And it can be 2 days into an arrangement, it needs fresh water. You can't expect it to last forever without water. All right. Now, we're going to start low and droopy. These are the hellebores. Beautiful for this springtime of year. Oh, and I'm just talking and talking. Have you noticed what's all around me? These are the Levante Rosa anemones, which are just superb. And we're going to focus on them, making an arrangement with them. And, all right, I'm going to digress. I'm going in at angles. Well, I'm going to tell you this first. I'm going in at angles with my stems because I want to create a web under the chicken wire of my stems. So then when I add more things, there's something to hold everything together. The chicken wire is great. I considered getting a pin holder. Ikebana, people call them different things. They call them, well, I call them pin holders anyway. They're the heavy metal, and they have the spikes on them like a bed of nails, and you secure them down in the bottom, and it gives you something else to poke your stems into. But I decided I was just gonna wing it and let y'all see how I do it if I don't have a pin holder. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you. Yesterday, these were drooping real badly, and I came with my little knife and I cut little lines down the stems. You can see how that one's split. And put them back in the deep water, and they have freshened up again for today. So they come out of the box looking so beautiful, and then they all of a sudden they look tired, and all it is they just need a little love. All right, so this is a tiny little spray rose that I just love. It almost looks like little cabbages. Very unusual. It doesn't look like a regular rose at all. And I'm going to use it along with the hellebores, and I've got a few other things that we're going to put around the edge here to cover the edge of the plastic container. That is a big, important thing to me. And it may be that at the end I may even need to come back with moss and tuck it in there, because I don't want you to see underneath my arrangement what's going on. I don't want anyone seated at a dining room table and having the arrangement. What do they see? They see the side, like you're seeing now. And we have to make it look nice, and you can't see any of the plastic, because that ruins the illusion of the garden that's in front of you. This is called Alchemilla. Oh, that's a little muscari. And I'm going to add Alchemilla in as well. So I thought this through. Once you've considered which container you want to use, that is always step number one for me. Then I go to, in my mind or on paper, I draw a little picture of the container, and then I go about trying to figure out what I want to do in the container. Well, we had a meeting and we looked at where we're going to place this because we're going to photograph it. And I kind of figured it was going to be, can't be too tall, and it needs to be, have movement and be very natural and be very springy and highlight our anemones. So that's kind of my instructions that I had. And I just dreamed, you know, what can I get now that looks springy? What can I use to make, because I want it to be pink and blue. But I was like, well, what am I going to do to make it pop? And I decided to use the chartreuse green. So that's where those decisions came from. I'm going to add a little bit over there. How am I doing? We're doing better with this edge. We're not completed, but we're doing better. May have to, at the end, I'll go and get some more of this, or go out in the yard and cut on a bush. Ha ha. So there, I have a collar for my container. And I've always loved, I don't know why, I say this and it's goofy. My mother always made me wear navy blue dresses with white collars. And for some reason, I always put a collar on my flower arrangements. And I don't know if there's a correlation or not, but there you go. All right, I'm gonna want height in this. And so I have some delphinium. Unfortunately, that one's little head is broken. And if you just cut real close down into the next flower where it attaches to the stem, it usually will work for you. And I don't know if I'm tall enough, but possibly so. That seems like it'll be a good start. And I love the end of that one, the way it curves and comes toward you. I want there to be movement, so I like that very much. And we're going to put this other little piece that looks really great on the top. And I'm going to put it in here too and maybe disguise this other one that I had to cut the tip off. But maybe. All right, so now what I'm struggling with is a lot of stems, chicken wire. I think that is a good start. We'll say that's a good start. And I have, all right, that was regular delphinium. This is a different type of delphinium. This is bush delphinium. And I thought it would be nice cut and put in down low. And what I can do with this is I can create 2 levels by cutting it right there where it branched off, or maybe 3 levels we're going to do, and come in close with this one. And then we're going to add these others. I'm going to cut it up. So this is where I say, and I have been taught the saying, that the flowers and the greenery do not control you, you control them. And so I took that one piece and I've cut it down into all these pieces, and I'm going to use them separately. And that especially is true with greenery, because when you go out and cut in the wild or in your grandmother's garden or wherever you have a spot to cut some greenery, you need, it may be all wild and going in every direction and you just want a pretty curve. Well, cut off all those side pieces and then there's the pretty curve. You just don't want to leave a bunch of stumps where you cut it off. You want to disguise them as best you can. This is Mimi Eden Spray Rose, and I thought she would be really beautiful down in part of the nest that we've got going on. So I called it a collar, but now I'm going to call it a nest, and just add a few in here, because when you look at an arrangement, if everything is sticking out and there's not anything down in there close that gives you color and gives you interest, it's boring. So, at least in my opinion. This is blue tweedia. So you see the theme now. I'm getting blue, blue, blue. And tweedia is interesting. I think it has this white sap that comes out of it. And so it's always good once you've worked with tweedia to wash your hands really well. But I thought these little old-timey looking flowers, I just love tweedia, would look really sweet in here as well. Okay, a few more. I've got to work on my side. I've been working on your side. And the other thing I can do, of course, is turn it and let me see what's going on. So that's where I had gotten on my side. And I think I'll put one over here. Oops. There's a spent flower right in the middle of there, so I just cut it out. And I think one of these doesn't look good, and the other one does. And this is the dance you have to get flowers apart. And that's the best way to do it, is to shake them. And but I was able to get this one free. Many times your flowers will be tangled when you pull them out. I want to go in closer. Take it in. I talk to myself too. I try not to answer. All right, I need to put some of these little blue muscari. Well, I'm going to save them for later because they're such tiny stems. We want to get it to where we've got all our bigger items in first. The most important flower in this arrangement is the Levante Rosa anemone. So I'm going to start adding it, and the goal with everything else that I chose was to have flowers that would look pretty and complement our Levante Rosa. And each face looks different. There's one in here, I don't know where it is now, that's half cream and half pink. And as they open, they get lighter. Oh my goodness, look at it with the Mimi Eden spray rose. Isn't that pretty together? So that one is growing a little strange. So it's not that I'm going to reject it, it's just that I think I'm going to use another one in this spot, and then we'll see if there's a spot for it kind of turned to the side. I feel so fortunate to have these beautiful flowers to work with. So I wanted one coming out and down. And, you know, the thing that I do is I always try to make a garden-looking arrangement. And to do that, I put the odd one in, and it looks so good there, doesn't it? Now, I have a question. Do these look too much like antlers? Or if you had antennae on your head, are they too close together at being the same height? And when I look at them from the front, I believe they're okay because this one's looking this way and this one's looking up. So I think they work, but I'll decide that at the very end. And what is driving where I put each flower? It's when I hold it up in front of the arrangement and my mind says it needs one right there. So I can't exactly explain how my mind works, but I did many years ago when I started teaching flower school. I decided that I had to find out why I do what I do. And so I started noticing my trends, and I do triangles. And I do it naturally with my eye. And here's one here. Do, do, do. And so when I do my arrangements, now see, here's the start of one over here, but it needs something down here to create that triangle. So without realizing and without trying to do, I want it there. I like that better. So instead of coming to this arrangement and saying, okay, put triangles in, I put the flowers where my eye says they need to go, and then when I go back and examine it, I have done these odd angled triangles to, it's what pleases my eye. And you know, these days, there's all kinds of different arrangements that are being done, and this is me doing what I have done my entire life, or my entire adult life. So I would say we're talking 50 years is kind of what I've been doing and making this style arrangement. So this is a still bee, and I just love the fluff in the gathered together here in the center, in the front. I think that's really beautiful. And I have made the arrangement more forward because it's going to be photographed, and it's going to be photographed sitting on a chair. And so the back of it needs to not come out too far. And I've probably come too far in trying to create the pretty nest that we created. And then I'm looking, and if I were sitting at a dining room table, I would see the plastic. So I will come back with some moss and just tuck it in, or some little boxwood or small greenery to add around the edge, add interest around the edge. When I got married, I carried a bunch of anemones. They were just gorgeous, all bright colors. And my daughter was my flower girl, and she carried anemones as well. And so they just mean a lot to me, and they always have. And this one, what they do is when you make them in an arrangement, they continue to grow like a tulip does. And what they're doing is they're growing towards the sun. So if you can take your arrangement and turn it around every day, you'll get more movement, and it makes it even more beautiful. They are very thirsty. They are always needing more water, more water, more water. So we're going to put a little bit more in here. And then I always say that your arrangement isn't finished until you fill it to the top. So I think that's important. And I hope you've learned kind of the technique that I use for making an arrangement. And this could be just greenery. It doesn't have to be all of these different flowers, or it could be much simpler and smaller. But it's getting the foundation properly set, and then turning and moving and looking at it from all sides. You don't want it to be flat, like totally whacked off on one side or something like that, unless it's going literally against a wall. But then I would make it 3/4. I wouldn't stop here. I would go completely really to here if I were putting it against a mirror or a wall. And if it's against a mirror, you've got to put a showy flower right in the back. This is my arrangement using the Flower of the Year for Flower Magazine, Levante Rosa Anemone.